Hello, my friends, my dear, sweet friends. I love you and I love MLP. I love talking about MLP. I love making videos about MLP. And even if I don't like G5, I like making videos critiquing G5 because regardless of how I feel about the show, I love analyzing the heck out of writing. I love the discourse surrounding MLP, the theories, reviews, and all the different opinions and perspectives people have on the franchise. I even have a series all about reading your guys' controversial opinions on the show because I find them very interesting and I like hearing why people might have a certain opinion about MLP or feel a certain way about any show, really. But I have to be honest with you. Talking about G5 has become a horribly unpleasant ordeal. And don't get me wrong, I still enjoy analyzing it and sharing my thoughts on the matter, and I'm not about to stop including the topic in my videos, but simply talking with other people about the show online is no longer fun. And in a way, it kind of hasn't been ever since the show released. And I'm not saying that the topic is boring, not at all. I think it's actually really interesting. The problem is the discourse surrounding G5. And I'm not talking about a specific comment that I've received or a conversation that I've had. I'm talking about how pretty much everywhere you go to chat about MLP, you will be running into a hostile environment depending on whether you like or dislike G5. And even if you're sort of a moderate, middle-in-the-road kind of guy, sorry to break it to you, you still will be caught in the crossfire. Now, this is of course nothing new. Whenever you have a pre-existing series that goes in a direction that some fans don't want, they are going to voice their opinion. But this case is a little different, because this is not an instance where a small handful of people on one side or the other agree or disagree with the direction of the series. In this case, there are a whole lot of people on both sides of the issue who disagree with each other, and they are going at one another's throats. I cannot tell you the amount of times I have scrolled through these discussions online and witnessed as a conversation on G5 quickly spirals into name-calling and attacking others simply for having an opinion. And by the way, I want to make it clear that I am not here to defend my position on G5 or claim any one side is right. This isn't a video about the show itself, this is about the fandom and the discourse surrounding it. Objectively speaking, if you look at what's going on, it is truly both sides of this issue that are making the mere discussion of G5 such a miserable experience. Now, I'm of course not saying that everyone is like this. The majority of people are actually being very civil about all this. But unfortunately, because the internet be the way the internet is, there is a vocal minority, and trust me, they are very loud. And unfortunately, when one group of people on one side are being very loud, it causes generalizations to occur. They take one side of the fence and say everyone on the other side is horrible, so the angry people on the other side pick up their megaphones and shout about how horrible everyone who doesn't agree with them are. And unfortunately, this encourages other people who would otherwise be civil to start shouting angrily as well. And now that everyone on both sides is just angrily shouting mindlessly, even more people on both sides just start generalizing and start straw-manning arguments against each other and accusing specific individuals of holding beliefs that they absolutely do not have. Now, usually these vocal minorities are not too big of a deal, and they can be easily ignored. But this is not a small group of people. It is literally everywhere you go, not hat room free of this, where there's people fighting about this topic, saying, you're not a true fan if you like G5, or the alternative, you're not a true fan if you don't like G5. And again, I cannot stress enough that most people are being civil about this. But when you're talking about a franchise with millions of fans, there's going to be a legion of people on both sides that want nothing more than to cause mayhem. And when the troublemakers are as common and as loud as they are now, sometimes it feels as though there are only troublemakers who are saying anything. You might have a group of good-hearted, well-meaning individuals in, say, your Discord server, but as soon as one of them brings up a controversial topic like G5, politics, religion, or what have you, suddenly the angry people who don't like or respect your opinion, who see this civil discussion taking place, show up to start a fight. This video is not about the people who are being civil. It's about the people who are taking this matter way too far. We are talking death threats, being thrown in both directions, mind you. Civil people being banned off of Discord servers and forums, etc. because the owner of the chat didn't like their opinion. The voice actress for Misty being booed at a convention purely for being a part of G5. Lines being drawn in the sand to distinguish these two factions from each other by referring to the others as either G4 fans or G5 fans, despite the fact that practically all of us are G4 fans. You can, in fact, be a fan of both. You don't have to hate G4 to like G5 and vice versa. Another thing people are doing is they're referring to each other as not being true fans, whatever a true fan is to them. Or there's, of course, the title that people like myself have been given, G4 purists. All of this to say, this ain't fun. This is not a good situation for the fandom to be in. I don't care who you are, what your opinion of G5 is, how old you are, whether you're a 9-year-old who's a troll or a fully grown 1-star Bob who won't leave his house, there is no excuse for this behavior. Now, I want to do something that I know will probably make a lot of people mad at me from both sides, but I want to try my best to analyze the situation and determine why people feel the need to start these fights to begin with. Now, why would I want to do this when people are clearly just going to get mad at me? Because the only way you can weed out a problem is to find the root of it. One of the very big causes for the fighting I see, and must point out, is the G5 critics. I have seen people in various places, such as my comment section, harassing people who like G5. Some of these people weren't even giving any valid criticism of the show, they were just mindlessly hating. And here's the thing, the people who like G5 and are leaving comments on my videos, a lot of them are fans of mine. Even though they don't agree with me, they still enjoy watching my videos because they want to hear other people's perspectives. If you are somebody who likes G5, yet is still coming to my videos to watch me rant about it because you enjoy my rants, then I know for a fact that you are the last person on the planet trying to start a fight over this. And yet, for some reason, these critics watch as people who like G5 leave a comment about how much they love the show in the most civil manner possible, and they only see it as fuel for a battle, even though the G5 defenders comment had zero ill intent. So, why would someone do this? Well, my best guess is that, and this is coming from a critic of G5, is that the only way a big company like Hasbro starts putting out higher quality content is if there is enough demand for the high quality content and enough backlash to their lower quality content. Critics see G5 as a bad show and know that the only way they are going to get something better is if there is enough backlash towards the bad stuff. And if there are people who are supporting the thing they don't like, those people are directly opposing their goal of trying to change Hasbro's actions. They then vilify the supporters and see them as a force that must be stopped. And when they are hit with people who continue to support the series, they think it is their job, their honor-bound duty, to keep fighting and shut down anyone who disagrees with them because they believe that the G5 supporters are the one allowing for this whole thing to happen. And to a point, I do get this perspective. I'm not happy with the direction G5 has taken. I don't want to support Hasbro when they make something like this. And it's true that the more people who financially support G5, the less likely Hasbro is to care about the controversy surrounding it. They see G5 raking in enough sales numbers and they say, yeah, that was good. Let's continue on this path doing the exact same thing because we know it will make us plenty of money. I don't like that Hasbro looks at sales numbers and nothing else, but does that give me the right to personally attack the fans of G5 or its creators? No, of course not. And if you are someone who does this, shame on you. You can criticize the show all you want, but do not attack the individuals surrounding it. Do not attack fans who are just having a good time and are doing nothing to affect your life in any negative way. It is not my job, your job, or the job of anyone else to tell someone that they are wrong for supporting a show. If someone enjoys a show, then I should simply let them enjoy that show. I can't stop them. That's their opinion. I may disagree with it. I can explain why I disagree with it, but that doesn't mean I or anyone else should tell them that they are wrong for supporting a thing that they like. And if you're a critic, you might say in this instance, but they are objectively wrong about the show. I can explain exactly why. You yourself, Starstrike, have explained exactly why this is an objectively low-quality show. And if this is in fact a low-quality show, then we must get them to shut up so that Hasbro will listen to us. It's the only way. Okay, I'm going to tell you something. I love The Legend of Spyro. And I don't just mean a small love, I absolutely adore this series. Dawn of the Dragon is by far my favorite game of all time, and I will talk your ear off about all the reasons why I absolutely love this series if you let me. But looking at this series objectively, I can tell you with complete confidence that this is not a very good game. It's full of bugs, the audio is broken at times, the story has a bazillion problems, the combat is not well balanced, and yet I frickin' love it. Furthermore, Spyro is a series that started off really strong in the 90s with a huge audience that loved it, but the series eventually changed and took a direction that a lot of people did not enjoy. The Legend of Spyro trilogy has very little in common with the original trilogy and is objectively the worst set of games. And yet, I still prefer it. It personally just does a lot of things I really enjoy, and I genuinely wish they did more with the series. But am I not allowed to support this version of Spyro just because it isn't as good as the original trilogy? Of course I can, and I will continue to enjoy this series for many years to come, despite its flaws. And even though I prefer Legend of Spyro, guess what? I have played the Reignited trilogy as well, and I love it! So I actually love both versions of the series. Now tell me, does that make me a Legend fan or a Reignited fan? Neither! I am just a Spyro fan, happy to talk about either one, and no one should be shamed for preferring one over the other. And something I feel is very important to mention is that these people who act this way are doing a very poor job of representing the fan base. Critics, such as myself, are now getting grouped in with the loud, unreasonable critics that try to force you to either hate the show or simply shut up. And you know what's also unreasonable? Seeing this behavior in people who don't like G5 and thinking it represents any more than a vocal minority. Lumping people who are simply voicing their opinion in with the people who are just haters is beyond ludicrous. I see this constantly where fans of G5 will look at a few individuals who didn't like the show and were a little mean about it and immediately assume that all G4 fans are the same, despite the fact that the world is filled with millions of G4 fans, many of which whom are very civil and didn't like the show because they had legitimate problems with it. And it's not a crime for those people to not want G5 as part of the canon in the show they like. And it is not fair to generalize and base your opinion on all G4 fans off of these critics who are very loud but are in small numbers. Which leads me to ask a question. Have you paid attention to the accounts of the people who are acting this way? Because it's not uncommon to see the same account and even obvious alt accounts repeatedly harassing people again and again and again. My good friend Doc Anubis recently had someone in the comment section of one of his live streams who could not shut up about how horrible GM Burrow was for making G5. But this person is obviously not the majority. This is one guy who felt the need to spam his opinion. He then went on to make a group chat in Twitter with hundreds of people where he started harassing them there too. When I say these people are being hundreds of times louder, I mean it literally. The people who act this way are in fact a minority, but they are a loud minority. They are leaving hundreds times the comments as other people just to be heard. And you want to base your opinion of the entire G4 fan base on these guys. To let someone like that color your perception of the overall fan base doesn't make any sense. One of the biggest messages I push on this channel with series like Bold Banter Bonanza is that it is okay to have different opinions, and we should be open to hearing them and not get mad about it. I've said it again and again and again and again. If you like G5, be it Make Your Mark, Tell Your Tale, the comics, or whatever, that's fine. And yet, it doesn't matter how often I say it, after every review I leave, I get treated as just another hater, just another G4 purist who can't handle the fact that G5 isn't G4, and I'm not gonna lie, it's frustrating. Every time I bring up G5, no matter how civil I try to be with people, there are a bunch of individuals who aren't even willing to hear what I have to say and only want to hate on me for not having the same opinion as them. There are even people who absolutely hate my guts who haven't even seen my videos. And I'm not talking about somebody who just jumps on and then watches halfway through, doesn't get to the part where I say, hey, if you like G5, that's fine, and then leaves. I'm talking about people who have literally never watched a single minute of my videos. Genuinely, there are people who have looked at my thumbnails and without even seeing any of my videos will spend all day ranting about me on Twitter. I know this because they are willing to admit that they've never watched my content. Yes, this really happened. One individual who did this even went out of their way to block me on Twitter despite us never interacting in any way at all. These extreme G5 defenders don't even give critics a chance to explain themselves or their position, no matter how peaceful they are. Like the extreme critics, these people have vilified anyone who says anything negative about G5 in any capacity. I even see people who are fans of G5 getting attacked for having the slightest criticisms of the show. There are people who will say things like, oh, G5 is great, I love it, wonderful songs, characters, animation, the whole shebang. But you know what? There was that one episode of Tell Your Tale I didn't like, and just like that, I see G5 fans throw them in with the extreme critics. This is absurd. These extreme G5 defenders see anyone who says anything negative about the show as a force that must be stopped. They say things like, they're ruining the show for us. They're going to get the show canceled if they continue. These critics are horrible people because they don't agree with every little thing I believe about the show. They are an enemy that must be fought. And that mindset is no less unreasonable than what the critics are doing. And I know I'm probably gonna make some people mad, but you know what really bothers me? A lot of these G5 defenders who are attacking anyone who disagrees with them, if you listen to what their arguments are and you hear what they are saying, they don't actually understand why we critics are upset with the show. If you listen to their arguments, they always say things like,
you just don't like the show because it's different. You're only mad because it didn't turn out the way you wanted. If you don't like it, just don't watch it. You're just hating for the sake of hating. G4 has problems. Why don't you criticize it the same way you criticize G5? You just don't like it because you can't accept change.
I get these kinds of accusations constantly, and they are objectively false. Statements like these come from a place of ignorance, and I'm gonna call it out. Anyone who has watched my videos knows that I go into great detail explaining exactly why I don't like something. And it's not a matter of being quote-unquote different from G4. I have issues with the quality. I have issues with the story, the characters, the setup and the payoff, the continuity, the logic of Opaline's plans, Twilight's plans, and how I believe it undermines the ending of G4. It doesn't matter if you disagree with me. Point is, I explain all of this in great detail in my reviews, and it's absurd to look at those claims and just say, you don't like the new thing because it's different. It's not that we don't like new or different things, we just genuinely believe that the new stuff is of lower quality and we want to be able to enjoy the new stuff the same way we enjoyed the old stuff. Voicing our opinions and explaining why we don't like the direction the new stuff has taken is not a crime. It's not a matter of people not wanting things to be different. From the perspectives of a lot of people, G5 is not just different, it's worse. It simply does not do the same things that we liked about G4. Like I said with my Legend of Spyro example, there are a lot of people who just don't like things about those games. They just do a lot of stuff that I personally really like. And the people who don't like it because it didn't do the stuff that they preferred in the original trilogy are not in the wrong for not enjoying the Legend series. People enjoyed the openness of the original trilogy, but the Legend trilogy is rather linear. People like the collectibles in the original, but the Legend trilogy doesn't have as many collectibles. People love the goofy, laid-back, and Looney Tunes aspect of the original, but the Legend trilogy takes itself much more seriously. It's no wonder a lot of fans did not care for this. It just simply didn't do what the pre-established fan base enjoyed. And it wasn't just that they were different. Gameplay-wise, they were objectively worse games. Another reason as to why some people on both sides are acting this way is kind of a sad one, and that is that they are looking for validation in their position. This isn't something that's unique to MLP, but is something that you will find with practically every franchise ever. Many people who have an opinion of a show seek validation on that opinion, especially when it involves a beloved franchise. So they go online to discuss it with people, and when they are repeatedly hit with opinions that are not just different from their own, but individuals holding those opinions can give solid arguments explaining why they hold that opinion, they may feel personally attacked, as though the person that they are watching is saying that they are wrong for holding a particular opinion, leading them to defend their position. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't actually know how to form a real argument or how to debate, and they may not be able to fully explain their position or why they like or dislike something. So instead of civilly presenting an argument to make their point, they turn to attacking their opponent, because the only way they know how to win an argument is to win by default and stop the other person from speaking. Such conflicts could be avoided if these individuals simply responded with, "I respectfully disagree," and then just walk away. No need for a fight. They can even say, "Yeah, I don't really know why I like this or why I don't like this. I just do or don't." And that's perfectly fine. You don't need to explain why you feel a certain way. Now, I honestly thought that after Make Your Mark ended, the rhetoric would start to calm down around G5, and we could hopefully all go back to being friends because we aren't going to be discussing the most recently released episodes and getting mad about them. Boy, was I wrong! Somehow, against all odds, the rhetoric around G5 has only gotten worse! People are hardly even making reviews about it anymore, and yet people are angrier than ever. And now we come to the reason as to why I am making this video. This fighting is helping literally no one. I fully mean it when I say this. All of this arguing is childish nonsense I would expect from kindergartners arguing on the playground. If you can't even stand to be in the same room with someone because they have a different opinion from you, I've got only two words for you. Grow up. This name-calling and infighting has to stop. Who's a real fan? Who's not a real fan? It doesn't matter. If you like MLP, regardless of if it's G4, 5, 1, 2, 3, or anything else, congratulations, you're a fan. I'm tired of constantly seeing people fight over what is literally an opinion of a cartoon. Okay, now that I have said everything, there is obviously one more thing I need to cover. How do we fix this issue? What do we do about all this fighting? Well, the first step is something that you can actually do next time you come across one of these toxic individuals looking to start a fight. Instead of attacking them or banning them or whatever else, try reasoning with them. Calmly tell them that there is no need to fight. Tell them that you hear what they are saying and that you respect their opinion. If they insult you, don't stoop down to their level and insult back. That only justifies in their mind attacking you. If they make a false accusation against you, ask them why they think that and to explain themselves. And then after they give their explanation, if they can, you can politely explain that you do not hold that belief that they have attributed to you. You can, in fact, calmly and peacefully explain your position without starting a fight. And if you're doing this in a public conversation, you can win the favor and support of the people surrounding you because they see just how calm and collected you are. And yeah, I'm sure some of you will find it pointless or even silly to try and reason with these people, but I've actually found great success with this. A lot of people really just need to hear that you're not there to attack them, and suddenly they calm down. And by extending an olive branch in peace, you not only look like the bigger person here, but you are giving these individuals a choice to either better themselves or simply respond with more hate and solidify themselves as an immature individual. At which point, I don't blame you if you've got to block them and ban them and stuff. At that point, they're clearly just there to cause trouble and should not be given the attention that they so desire. There is a second thing I believe you can do and should do in this sort of scenario though, and it has to do with our mindsets. This actually isn't something that just applies to MLP, but I genuinely think that this will help anyone who can develop this mindset that I am about to share with you. If anyone ever tells you that you are wrong for liking the show, or is saying that you are a horrible person for hating the show, or that you simply must have a certain perspective on the show, purely because they have that perspective and the world will end if not every single person that crosses their path agrees with them, just remember this one thing. Anyone who acts like that is either a child or an adult who never grew up. There is literally no other box they can fit into. You are either a misbehaving child or you are an adult who never grew up and are acting like said child, in which case, I care not what you have to say. There is no good reason for me to care about the opinion of anyone who acts in this way. Whenever I get these mindless hate comments on my videos, you know what I do? I ignore them, because their words are quite literally worthless, and responding to them only validates these people's position. The most I really ever do is respectfully explain my position and just hope that they are willing to calm down, and if they don't, I ignore them. There's literally nothing I can do. They just want to angrily shout into a void? Well, then I'll let them angrily shout into a void. And if somebody's acting this way to you, you should do the same. Just ignore them. When they realize this sort of behavior doesn't get them the attention that they want, they will stop. Because at the end of the day, that's all they're really doing. They are seeking attention. The reason I've never made a video on this topic before is because this is how I view these people. This is the mindset that I have, so I have no reason to complain about it. The reason I'm making a video on this now is because there's a lot of people out there who don't have this mindset, and the discussion around G5 has gotten really out of hand. And I know a lot of people are going to hear me say this and call me a hypocrite and say, but you don't explain your position calmly and politely. You just make angry ranting videos where you shout a whole bunch. And it's true that I do make loud ranting videos where I give all the reasons I am displeased with G5, but the reason I make my videos so over the top like that is not to attack anyone. I do it because there are a lot of people, including myself, who enjoy ranty style reviews. And part of the fun aspect is getting to be so loud and crazy and over the top, because there is a comedic element to it. And I get it, a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people do not find that funny, and that's totally fine. They do not have to find ranty style reviews entertaining. But again, that is taste, that is opinion. If you don't like it, totally fine. I get it. I want to make it clear that I never mean to hurt anyone with my reviews. I simply want to voice my very frustrated opinion, and the most entertaining way I know how to do that is by having my delivery be way over the top. Because it's fun to be loud, it's fun to overreact, it's fun to go crazy over the smallest of things. Now, that being said, if you are someone who has ever told me, or is currently telling me, if you don't like G5, just don't watch it, I need to point something out. In my reviews, I make it clear in the title and thumbnail and or opening of all of my videos that I am making a negative review. At that point, you are made very aware of what you are getting into with my reviews. And if you choose to not only continue watching, but watch multiple of my videos, as I know many of you have, then the pain you feel from my videos is 100% self-inflicted. If you go to a roller rink and the janitor tells you, hey, I just mopped the floor, don't skate just yet, and you choose to skate anyway, despite the wet floor sign being right there at the entrance to the rink, and you fall and injure yourself, it's absolutely absurd to tell the janitor it's his fault and that he shouldn't have been cleaning the floor. Which is why to all the people who tell me, if you don't like it, just don't watch it, and make a fuss over how hurtful my reviews are, then I say to you, take your own advice, stop watching my videos, and get off the roller rink. But even that, I know, is not enough for people. There are still some who think I shouldn't voice my opinion at all because it does nothing productive and only positive opinions should be heard. And if you are someone who believes this, allow me to offer my full explanation as to why I do what I do. I love stories. Like, you don't understand. I love stories. I love reading stories, hearing stories, telling stories. I love breaking down and analyzing stories to find out why we love them so much, why some stories are better than others, what makes a story work, and what makes it fall apart. And I like to learn all of that so I can tell better stories myself. And because I love stories, I of course want the world to be filled with more of them. And I want it to be filled with more good stories. So, how can I contribute to that other than writing some stories of my own that I believe are good? Well, it's by informing people of what makes for a good story. And while it's true that there's a lot of taste involved in whether or not someone enjoys a story, I believe that there are in fact ways that you can objectively tell if a story is good or bad. I'm not going to get into all that here because that's an entire video in and of itself, but my point is, there's a lot of people out there who will watch something and they can't quite explain why they did or did not like the story. They just know how they felt walking away from it. Well, I'm here to break down and analyze the stories so that people can understand. And by explaining the intricacies of storytelling, I can help other people develop an even deeper appreciation for any movies or shows they go watch. And if any aspiring writers are watching, they can learn the do's and don'ts of writing from watching my videos or any review videos, which will in turn help the world to be filled with even more good quality storytelling. Furthermore, if a company is putting out low quality movies and shows, it is reviewers that can often explain in great detail to these companies why an idea they had did really well or why it flopped. There is also one big reason as to why I make my negative reviews, and it's that if no one ever says anything bad and points out the problems, nothing ever changes. Better shows will never be made because in a world where no one explains why something was bad, no one ever stops doing the bad thing. Trust me, Mary Sue's stories would be way more common if this was the case. It is the job of the reviewers to point out problems so that there can be improvement in the future. There is also one more reason I do what I do, and I tell you, it is the most important reason of them all. I do this because it's fun. It's just fun. It's fun to talk about what we like and what we don't like. It's fun to shout about ponies not making any sense. It's fun to analyze every detail of a show. Even if it's a show I don't like, I can still enjoy the process and experience of breaking down and analyzing it. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who simply don't enjoy that. There are people who only want to watch good content and don't want to waste their times with movies and shows that they don't enjoy. That's where the reviewers come in once again. We are here to make reviews about things that people are considering watching. We are here to make reviews on things that people want to stay updated on, but don't want to watch themselves. There are people who didn't like the first several episodes of Make Your Mark, but still wanted to stay updated on it because of its connection to G4. And so they come to channels such as mine so that they can stay updated without needing to watch a show that they know they don't like. And if people are going to watch my reviews, that gives me one other reason to make these videos, and that reason is to entertain people. I love making people laugh. Because my thought is, if you're not gonna have a good time watching the show, you might as well have a good time watching a review of it of somebody who didn't enjoy it, who did watch the whole thing, and is now spiraling into insanity. Yeah, even a negative review can in fact bring about some positivity. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's just a show about ponies. It's just people on the internet complaining, and I could probably spend my hours working towards solving cold fusion or something, but I do feel it is rather important for me to have made a video on this, given that I know I can reach a lot of people. And if you still, for some reason, don't think G4 fans and G5 fans can get along, allow me to introduce you to someone. This is my friend Duck Anubis, another pony YouTuber who covers G5, but in a nearly exclusively positive manner. He and I disagree very strongly when it comes to G5, but never once have we fought over it. We have discussed, debated, and shared our opinions on it, but we still get along great. He has his own thoughts on the toxicity that is plaguing the fandom, which is why I have invited him here today to share his thoughts on the matter.
Star invited me on to give my perspective on this, admittedly very big topic. This fandom has been at war ever since the movie came out over 3 years ago, and it has only been getting worse. I almost made a video on it myself, but it fits better on Star's channel. He and I always had our differences in opinion, especially on the topic of G5, but that never stopped our friendship. You can disagree without shouting in each other's face or calling each other purist. And to be clear, G4 fans as well as G5 fans have these kinds of people. I've experienced both of these sides. Both have loud and obnoxious people. that ruin the fun for everyone else, even if they are in the minority. The people who don't like G5 didn't need to watch it, and the people who didn't like G4 didn't need to watch that. If you don't understand that everyone likes different things, and can still be together in harmony, you misunderstood one of the fundamental messages of MLP. Both G4 and G5 have episodes about understanding each other's differences. My gods, chapter 1 of Make Your Mark says, Zip likes what she likes. Just because we enjoy something doesn't mean she has to. Why does the fandom forget that all the time? And G4's examples are even more abundant. Remember the episode where AJ had to understand that some people like strawberries more than apples? Then Stranger Than fanfiction, which is literally what happened here. Someone not liking the newer content of a franchise, and Dashi having to come to terms with it. Heck, secrets and pies. Yeah, you get it. My main point is, Star and I are good friends. And we like very different things. But that doesn't mean we hate each other for it. Do better.
And I know even after all this, some of you are not convinced. Some of you are still going to be extreme defenders and extreme critics, in which case I offer you a choice. You can either calm down and turn away from what you've been doing and understand that, hey, it's actually not really a problem if people disagree with you about G5, and realize that this is kind of silly. There's not really anything being gained from fighting about this. And you can be welcomed in by everybody with open arms, and we can civilly and politely discuss the show together. Or solidify yourself as someone whose opinion we really shouldn't respect and no one should give the light of day to. Or again, be peaceful about it. Come, be friends. There's plenty of people out there who don't want to fight, who will happily be your friends and respectfully disagree so long as you're not being a jerk about it. But hey, you know what? There is actually a positive side to all this chaos. I got to talk about Spyro. It wasn't much, but I got to talk about it. And you know what else is a positive topic? Pizza. Everybody loves pizza. Everybody has their own tastes and opinions, and it's something that we can all just be happy over and have one big pizza party. So I ask you, no, I implore you, rather than leave an angry comment about this whole mess, just go down into the comment section and comment your favorite pizza topping, or maybe even a pizza topping combination. No shame here, whatever you like, whatever your taste, you share it proudly, because there is nothing in this world that is less divisive than pizza. And on that note, pineapple on pizza is amazing.